I'm pretty sure Barista League wants to trick us. They're just putting the name and they're not using Papua New Guinea coffee.
It's the Origin Challenge. This week, competitors have to match 5 mystery coffees to their origin, using a list of 10 origin cards. Sounds pretty straightforward. And we've invited an expert with in-depth knowledge about each of these coffees.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Ever Meister, the Director of Education and Editorial Manager for Cafe Imports. So we've given the competitors 5 different coffees from 5 different origins. There's a couple of curveballs thrown in there, so it's not as easy as it sounds. Now, if you want to play along at home, I'm going to come back with some tips and tricks, a couple of hints, so you can try and guess the origin too. We'll see how well you do, how you stack up against the competitors. You ready to go? Let's get started.
And today we're gonna do a mystery cupping. We have 5 coffees here. I have no idea what any of them are, and they are all visually distinct from one another.
They provided us a card, so that was kind of a hint.
Kenyan, Mexico, Burundi, Ethiopia, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Indonesia, Peru, Papua New Guinea. When's the last time you had a Papua New Guinea coffee? Colombia.
Used to do production cuppings twice a week or 3 times a week.
Experience-wise with cupping, I have absolutely none. I've been to a few cuppings at local coffee shops or some that my friends have put on, but I've never cupped coffee myself. I just never had the time nor the resources, so this was also really fun to do.
I haven't probably cupped as much as I should, honestly.
For those of you who aren't too familiar with cupping, what is it? What does it do? Well, in a nutshell, cupping is a standardized process for tasting different coffees. First, you dose the same amount of each coffee, grind it all up, and pour in boiling water. After about 4 minutes, you remove the crust, and my favorite part, you start slurping.
Alright, so we have waited 5 minutes, let it cool down just a bit so I can actually taste it.
Do some big slurp energy over here, okay?
Okay, hint number 1, coffee number 1. This is a coffee from East Africa, known for its really big sort of chewy body and also for a famous characteristic of tomato. Can you guess where it's from?
The coffee that gave me the most trouble was definitely coffee number 1.
I'm not getting many flavor notes today, but I did just eat a bag of tortilla chips. So that might be why.
Like milk chocolate, it's nutty, it has that spice to it, it's very subtle in its sweetness.
Very delicate. I would say pink. If I had to give it a color, I'd give it pink. There's some citrus in there. Got orange peel.
Let me try one more time. I don't think it's a Kenyan coffee though, I'll say that.
Kenya is one of the most interesting fruity acidic, you know, like that sort of like profile that comes with Kenya.
Because it doesn't really remind me too much of a Kenyan coffee. I'm gonna take Kenyan off the table.
And I think number 1 could be a Costa Rica, but I'm not sure.
I think my number 1 is Kenya.
Paula did awesome here. It is indeed a washed coffee from Kenya, and the competitors should all be pretty familiar with this coffee because it was what they used in the DIY roasting challenge, so they probably spent a lot of time tasting it. So the next coffee is a Central American coffee, and it's a particular variety that's famous from this particular country, and it's notorious for having slightly larger beans that make it a little trickier to roast. For extra credit, can you guess both the coffee variety and the coffee origin?
Coffee stood out to me the most, number 2, because of the size of the coffee.
How big these coffee beans are, like they're really big.
Number 2 tastes like chocolate covered fruit, but like chocolate covered apples.
Cranberry acidity in the back of my mouth. Kind of like, I don't know, it's not bad, it's just like, it's there.
I only know of 2 coffees that are that size, and they're usually coffees from Mexico, you know, elephant bean. And the alternative would be a Pacamara, which would be from El Salvador. But we have both of those options. We have Mexico and El Salvador.
Like origins have like pacas, like Colombia and like these other countries. But every time I think about pacas, I think about El Salvador. So I don't know. I'm just gonna follow my heart and put El Salvador number 2.
Okay. I don't know. You guys made it so hard. Barista League. Okay, I'm gonna say that coffee number 2. Yeah, I think coffee number 2 is from El Salvador.
Both Paula and Emily got this one right. It is a Pacamara, and that Pacamara is from El Salvador. Pacamara is a variety that's a cross between Margojipe, which is a coffee variety that grows huge leaves, huge beans, and Pacas, which is an El Salvadoran variety that's actually a dwarf, so it's a little bit smaller. Great job, you both of you. Coffee number 3 can be a little bit tricky. Let's see how the competitors did.
My favorite coffee on the table was probably what I assumed to be a Kenyan coffee. Coffee number 3 is very meaty. Tastes like a meatloaf. Not bad, just a thing. My money's on the Kenya. Coffee number 3 is a Kenya. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna put that there because I think that's true. To Kenya. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be very embarrassed if it's not. Kenya. 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 Still a Kenya.
I think number 3 might be like Papua New Guinea.
Number 3. I'm pretty sure, 95% sure that coffee number 3 is from Kenya.
We're gonna say Papua New Guinea for number 3.
So this coffee does have some sort of classic Kenyan style characteristics, but unfortunately Miranda's just a tiny bit off the mark here. This coffee is from Papua New Guinea. Incredible work for La Crista for guessing this one. We tried it with a couple of other roaster friends and even they couldn't get it, so this one's especially tricky. Really nice job. Okay, let's dial it back, bring it to the birthplace of Arabica coffee. This one is a sort of straightforward, classic, natural process. Where's this one from?
My favorite coffee on the table was definitely coffee number 4. It was super fruity.
Floral, very aromatic, very sweet, it almost had like a perfume kind of situation going on.
I usually never had the chance to try either natural or honey processed coffee. So every time that I cup or had a coffee that's sweet, it's like a treat for me and it's really special.
Wow. Wow, okay.
Oh, Ethiopia. Well, classic coffee that all of us love.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopian coffee is just too good.
Nice and easy, right? We just handed this one to you. It's a natural processed coffee from Ethiopia. Big berries, big fruity flavor, nice big chewy body.
Before we find out about our final coffee, we have to take a quick second to thank this week's video partners, Cafe Imports. Thanks, Cafe Imports. So far, this challenge has been pretty tough for our baristas, but there's still one more coffee to go. Fingers crossed this next cup is a little bit easier.
Okay, so this next coffee growing country is famous for having a micromill revolution in the early 2000s, which allowed smallholder producers to actually invest in their own processing equipment, which allowed them to control the quality and to control more of the value stream. Do you know which Central American country had that micromill revolution?
Stone fruit.
Tasted starchy, fruity, and nutty, which could be butter, because butter does tend to lend itself to, or Colombian coffees are buttery, and it looks like it's natural.
I think it's honey process. There's a mix of washed and dry.
So Ken is right on the money here. It is a honey process, and that should help narrow down the field. So where do you think that this coffee's from?
I'm gonna say, I just tried a Kenyan. That kind of reminded me of number 5. So we're gonna go with 5.
I never heard of Peru with honey process. Colombia, El Salvador, or Costa Rica. It's either the South Central American coffee.
I think number 5 is from Colombia.
But I'm more familiar with Costa Rica when it comes to honey process. I guess Costa Rica for number 5, honey process.
Awesome job, Ken. This is indeed a honey processed coffee from Costa Rica. Now, honey process can be a little bit tricky to pick out on a table, but they have like a hallmark sweetness, a little bit of that really interesting, juicy, fruity flavor, a nice, interesting texture, really classic, like, I like to think of them as almost being like peanut butter and jelly, like the perfect combination of sweetness, nuttiness, and fruit. You all are awesome. Great job. Some of those weren't easy at all, but you are officially Coffee Origin Masters. You did fantastic. Hope you all playing at home had a great time and learned a couple of things about where coffee comes from. Okay, bye everybody.
Whoa, this was the Olympics of coffee tasting, and perhaps a little bit more difficult than we thought. Paula was the only barista who correctly guessed 3 out of the 5 coffees. Well done, Paula. With these 3 points, Paula moves from 3rd to 2nd place, and she is now tied with Ken, who got 2 points today. Tasting coffees is all about deciphering nuance and flavor recall. The good thing about that is training your palate is the most fun training plan you probably will have. You get to taste amazing coffees, try different fruits, different veggies, all to create more memories. So you can recall that and describe the next delicious coffee. So if you saw this and was a little bit intimidated, I hope you're inspired, because with a whole bunch of tasting and a little bit of time, you can do what they did, and maybe even better. And that's it for this week. A big thank you to Evermeister and the team at Cafe Imports for helping us with this challenge. Oh, and I have a question for you. If you could only drink one origin for the rest of your life, which would it be? Leave me a note in the comments. Next week, it's the blend challenge. The baristas will have to transform 5 single origins into a masterful blend. Can they make already delicious coffee taste even better? Find out next week. Peace.